Are we live? Can you let me know in the chat if you can hear and see me? Yes, woo! We're live, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love it if you could let me know where you're from in the chat. I would love to know where you are in the world. I see Justice from South Africa. Oh, thank you so much for making it, Justice. I've spoken to you before, I think. Andreas from Berlin. I'm also based in Berlin. So nice to have you. Canada, France. Oh, hey, Jeffrey. How you doing? So Florida blessing. Oh, hello, everybody. I'm so happy to have you here. We'll be starting in a few minutes when a few more people come in. And yeah, London. Hey, Shoshana. Vivian. BC, Canada, Orange County. Oh, Dublin. Hey, Dahlia. I hope you're well. Trying to see how many people I can recognize. Hi, David. Hey, lovely. New York City. Oh, someone from my high school is here. Hi, Marwan. I hope you're doing good. So happy to have you all tuning in. Here you go. Mexico, nice. Seattle. Awesome. Yeah, so we have a very international group. I love that. People from Asia here, a few people in Africa, North America. It's really awesome. I'm based in Berlin. And there's a few people here from Berlin, which is pretty cool. Maybe we can meet someday when all of this is over. Awesome. And we're up to 50 people. Oh, 55. That jumped fast. That's awesome. Kenya, awesome. All right, I'll just give it a few more minutes and then we can start. Feel free to add what you do here. Maybe you can meet someone who's in the same industry or the same field and you can connect. I really encourage everyone to use this as a networking opportunity. I mean, you should use everything as a networking opportunity. So feel free to share what you do. I work in sales, or I'm going to start working in sales this summer. So if anyone works in sales, you can mention it in the comments. We can connect. Yeah, me and David will be starting at BLP this summer, but David's starting in October, which is pretty awesome. I'll be starting in Dublin, though, and he'll be starting on the other side of the world, which I think is really cool. But we'll be starting in the same position. Industrial engineering. All right, it's been 3 minutes, so I will start. Thank you all for coming. I'm really happy that we'll be spending an hour just getting to know each other and learning together, which is awesome, especially in these tough times. And something I just wanted to highlight is I hope you're doing well. I hope you and your loved ones and your family are doing well in these tough times. It's affected all of us in so many different ways, whether it be personally or career-wise. And it's really important that we're together through this and we're supporting each other. And that was the point of this webinar. We need to be there for each other and we need to be giving each other value and helping one another. So I hope you come out of this more confident and a bit more certain of what's going to happen or what you can do to take hold of this situation. in terms of networking online and using these remote strategies to get ahead of the game, especially in these tough times. And for anyone that doesn't know me, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Basent Shinoda. I'm originally from Egypt, but I now live in Berlin. And my journey to getting a job at LinkedIn was quite long and quite difficult. It wasn't whoop whoop point A to point B as a lot of people think jobs, like job searching is. It can be a really tough process if your circumstances aren't allowing you to get to that point or your goal. So I struggled a lot with visa sponsorship. I struggled with bad timing a lot of the time. I struggled with lack of experience. But the one thing that helped me surpass all of those problems was networking and building relationships with people. And I personally believe that relationships really help the world go round. Like that's how the world functions. If you think of any industry or anything, it revolves around relationships. And that's the way you can push forward through bad circumstances. And one thing someone told me that I really look up to when I was job searching, because I'm a big planner, and he basically told me, you can plan life as much as you want, but what are you going to do when it hits you in the face with something? And that's just how life is, whether it be in these tough circumstances or in something else in the future. There's always going to be something that is stopping you from getting to your goal. And what you need to do is adjust and stay calm and keep persistent. I think during my job search, if I was not persistent and if I did not keep pushing forward, I wouldn't have gotten my dream job. So you need to keep that motivation up regardless of what's going on and push past needing to plan everything. Take hold of the situation and be resourceful. So if anyone doesn't know, my personal brand in a way is called Basent Blast. And the foundation of it is basically I was always told that I'm not capable of doing a lot of things, but what Basent Blast stands for is regardless of circumstance, regardless of what's going on, I will leave my mark. And you can leave your mark as well, regardless of what's happening. Whether you be an international student or someone who got laid off, you can get through this, and we will get through this together. That's the most important bit. Sorry, I'm just looking down to see I'm not missing anything. Right. So the structure of this webinar is going to be, I'm going to speak about networking, and I'm going to speak about the different strategies that go within that and what you need to keep in mind when you're networking. I saw a lot of people wanted to know, especially about recruiters and hiring managers and how to grow your network. So those will be big parts of the webinar. We will also be looking at personal branding online towards the end after that, because it is a big strategy that will help you get a job if you're currently looking. And essentially, in general, having a personal brand and creating content online really creates opportunities for you. So that's something we'll be discussing. I will be leaving 15 minutes at the end for us to go through some questions that you may have, anything that you might need in specifically. And don't worry if I don't get to your question, because I will go through all the questions after, and I will send them in an email or on LinkedIn. So stay tuned to that. So don't worry if I don't get to your question. I will get to it for sure. So don't worry about it. And like I said, use this as an opportunity to support people and to network. So I see that a few people are already talking about like what industry they're in and what's going on, which is awesome. It's good for you to be able to meet people regardless of whether there's offline events or not. So good on everybody here. Will all of the questions be answered on a document? Yes, exactly. That will be what is happening. So yeah, use this as an opportunity to learn. And a big theme of this webinar is going to be how to be a giver when you're networking, because that is key to building relationships. So really make sure that even if someone has a question and you can support them in some way, why not? We're all here to support each other and to help one another. So sure, I would love to see that. So yeah, just one thing before we start with networking and creating your personal brand. One thing I really wanted to push is if your job material is not on point, networking, personal branding, all of that will not help you. So if your resume and your like cover letters, your profile, your interviewing skills, any of those things that really showcase who you are, if that's not on point, a referral and all of these things will not get you as far as you think. So even though you're creating content or you're building relationships with people, you need to educate yourself and make sure that your resume and all your material is 100%, because that is what the hiring managers and the recruiter will look even at the end of the whole process just to check everything again. So really educate yourself, research, talk to other people, show your material to other people. Make sure that is on point, because everything else can only get you as far. So really make sure while you're networking, while you're building your personal brand, you're also focusing on your job material. And if anyone does need support on that, just reach out to me. I can support you on that as much as I can. And with that out of the way, I just wanted to go over some do's and don'ts generally of how to interact with people when you're networking. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what you need to do, how you can get to your goals through networking, how you can get a referral, all these things. And I personally have been victim to not portraying to certain ethics when I'm speaking to people, if that makes sense. So I definitely look back at things I've done, and I would have liked to have done them better, to speak more, to create relationships with people rather than just ask for things, is what I'm trying to say. So I compiled a list of things I wish I could have done better for us to start, and just to hit ourselves in a more general light. So do's. The first do I was thinking about is be intentional when you're networking. So I see a lot of these posts online where it says comment below and like connect with as many people as you can, network with people, all like everyone. I personally disagree with this. When you are job searching, you need to be as intentional as possible. So if you're connecting with someone in a completely different field, completely different industry, it might not be the most effective use of your time. Be intentional, understand what your goals are. If you want to work in data science, for example, connect with data scientists. I know this seems like a very basic piece of advice, but even when I was job searching, I was a bit all over the place. I was like, oh, I want to work here, I want to do this, I want to do that. Maybe I can talk to this person, maybe I can talk to that person. But be intentional. Really think about your goals, what you want to get to, what your end game is, and network based on that. There is a quote from Start With Why, a really good book that I think everyone should read, that says if you're going into a grocery store and you're on a diet and you're picking out all these non-dietary foods, it doesn't make sense. You need to be intentional, and everything you do needs to connect to what you're trying to get to, right? So I wrote after, work with a specific goal in mind. So really have that goal in mind. And if something doesn't work with that goal, reconsider it. Or maybe you need to change your goal. It's a flexible thing, a process that is changing. And one thing I personally really think we all need to get better at when we're networking is to be empathetic. So I think a lot of the time when you're a job seeker, everything's going really fast, right? You want to get a job, you want to get those opportunities, so you're not thinking straight sometimes. I personally was not. And we tend to forget that the people we are talking to are people with jobs and problems as well. So I really encourage you to be empathetic when you are communicating with other people. Think about what this person could be going through in their job. If they're a recruiter, they're probably already very busy. So just when you're networking, keep those things in mind and establish yourself as a giver. We're going to talk a bit more later about what resources and what things you can do to position yourself as a giver to other people. But yeah, another good do I would do is send personalized messages. Whenever you are connecting with anyone, send a personalized message. You need to remember, again, it goes back to this empathy thing. We need to establish ourselves as givers and really think about what people think. And I think we all forget that we're speaking to strangers. These people don't know anything about us. They don't owe us anything. Start the relationship off right and customize a message to them and let them know that you want to start building a relationship with them. And a few don'ts, a few other basic things that I think a lot of us forget is don't ask questions you can Google. So think of it this way. You're speaking to a big hiring manager or you're speaking to a big recruiter. And you ask them to tell you about the company. It's something you can Google. It's something that you can easily find if you look for it. A lot of the people I work with, a lot of my clients always tell me I connect with recruiters and I connect with hiring managers so they can tell me more about the jobs or tell me what is available in this company. And of course, when you're job searching, this could be a concern you have, but it is not anyone's responsibility to tell you what opportunities are available. This is very easily accessible in job boards or anything else. So really put in the effort first. And if you're really stuck, then maybe ask the question. But really value other people's time and really put in the research first before you decide to reach out. And also be careful about being unspecific. So a lot of the time people will chat with recruiters and say, hi, how are you? I'm looking for a job. Can you please help me? You're not being specific enough when you're reaching out to people. So I would really encourage you when you're speaking to someone, if you want to reach out, be very specific. Let them know who you are, what you're doing, what impact you've had in previous roles. Add your resume if you have to, if you're looking for them to help you out. Be very specific. Again, these people are very busy. You need to value their time and really help them help you in a way. So if they're not gonna run after you and ask you questions to be able to help you, do that first step for them. Provide all necessary information, give them a few jobs that you're interested in, and then start. And yeah, another don't is really be mindful of the person's time. So there's two ways to networking. So there's short-term networking and there's long-term networking. These are made up terms. I made them up. So short-term networking is when you're kind of stuck and you really need assistance and someone to refer you or to really help you out through a process. This is a bit more difficult because you've not established a relationship with this person. You've basically you're doing a hit and run, kind of almost. You're just, it's like connecting with this person so they can help you out in a hurry because you're kind of stuck with getting a job and you really need that extra push or like help. Long-term networking, which is far more recommended for me, is when before you start job searching, you're really establishing your network, you're growing with a whole bunch of people, you're creating those long-term relationships, and really establishing yourself with these people without asking for anything yet. So let's say you want to work in tech, you have your eye on Microsoft, Google, Amazon, for example. You're building your network with these people before you need to start applying. And that way it's kind of a long-term game rather than just, oh, I'm applying right now, I need help. And the reason long-term networking is better than short-term is, like when let's say you're going to move apartments and you need some friends to help you out. You need some friends to help you out in moving. Are you going to get new friends to help you, or are you going to use your friends who you've already helped out before? You know they're going to be there for you, and you've already established a relationship with them. You don't get new friends for certain things, if that makes sense, because this is someone who doesn't owe you anything. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know anything about you, and you're just asking them questions, right? One thing when I started job searching that I kept being told is that relationship building is like getting married, and asking for a referral is the marriage. So if you go out with someone on a first date, you're not going to ask them to marry you on the first date. You establish a relationship with them, you vibe together, you see that you're like vibing together, you have a good relationship, then you ask to marry them. And it's the same with referrals or asking for any help. It's best to establish yourself first, and usually say no. And that's a good sign that you're going about it in the wrong way, if that makes sense. But we will still look at how you can effectively do short-term networking anyways. It's definitely something I still did because I was stuck in certain aspects of my job search. Anyways, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is recruiters. There is a misconception that you need to reach out to recruiters so they can help you with the job search. And if you have a strong network of recruiters, they're going to help you get the job. It's tough. I personally would go for connecting with hiring managers rather than recruiters. That is a much more effective way and efficient way of your time, just because recruiters are already being bombarded constantly with people. And this goes back to the empathy. It's not just you reaching out to these people. It's 50 people every single day with the exact same request and nothing to kind of spotlight themselves. So I think it's really important for you to think about that when you're strategizing. Is this recruiter also very popular on LinkedIn? They're more likely to be very responsive because, again, they have a lot of people reaching out to them already. What's going to set you apart? That's the question you need to ask yourself. That's either being a giver. We'll talk about that, I promise. I see a few people asking about that. Or helping recruiters. So just a small story. When I was interviewing for one company, I got rejected from, but the recruiter was extremely kind, so I stayed connected with her. I stayed connected, and I made sure that I kept in touch with her. But the one thing I did was I got back to her and I told her, "Are you looking for any people for certain positions?" And she said, "Yes, I would love for you to help. I'm looking for this specific skill. Do you know anybody?" And I did. And she appreciated that because, believe it or not, recruiters are people who also have problems and need people to help. So really think outside the box. How can you help this person? What problems could they be facing? How can I help them? And a lot of the time, recruiters are looking for certain people and can't find them. So why not offer to help? Why not offer to stand out from the crowd and be a giver? A lot of people always tell me, "I don't have anything to give." You don't have to have anything. Just offering to help is already like huge. And you personally don't have anything. You can offer your network. You can offer, like I said, you can ask the recruiter if they're looking for certain people, if you can help, all of these things. And there are certain situations where it would be very beneficial to go for recruiters. So if you're going for big companies, it's a bit tricky. If you're going for smaller departments in smaller locations, startups, for example, reaching out to a recruiter could be a bit more beneficial because they don't have as much demand in terms of people trying to communicate with them. And just a tip, I mean, I was in Europe and the campus team in LinkedIn was quite small. So there were 4 recruiters. And I already reached out to them when I was applying just to check in and get to know them a bit. And because it was a bit more less demand and we were in Europe, it was a bit easier to communicate with them. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, and like I mentioned before, please don't ask them what jobs are available or like anything like that. Really value the time and do the research yourself first. And I really encourage you to challenge people. I would love it if people asked me really tricky questions rather than general questions about LinkedIn or things like that. Really challenge people and see how you can get them to think, because I think that's a great way to stand out from a crowd rather than ask the same questions. Really think about this person and how you can get them to challenge them, to give to them, to help them, and things like that. And I see also a lot of comments about hiring managers. That's the next topic. Hiring managers are a bit easier to handle because let's say you've applied, you haven't been able to get a referral from your long-term network. If you're able to research the hiring manager and get in contact with them, that's going to be a big win for you. So one thing I always did for applying with graduate positions and internships would be I would search on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a huge and very powerful tool that needs to be utilized better. But search on LinkedIn, go for the job location, what the job department is, and like write a team lead. So location, job, department, etc. That would be like team lead. You can do a bit of research, find the team even as well, try to network with them. A lot of the time they will personally post on LinkedIn and say, oh, we're hiring for this position. You reach out if you know anyone or if you're interested. And that's a really good sign they want people to reach out to them. So that's a big goal for you to speak to them. And I would send them a personalized message, please, and write in, oh, I saw that you have calls for this position. I'm really interested in it. I've already applied. I would love to have an informational interview with you maybe, and like looking forward to hearing from you in the personalized message. So that's already something that gets you up there by like connecting with them. And wonders for me, and it's very impactful. And the hiring manager in general is more likely to be able to push your application forward than a recruiter in general. And sometimes people tell me like, I don't know what to talk about with these hiring managers. I never know what to say, etc. One thing you can do is find commonality. So maybe you went to the same school. Maybe you have they all have a specific interest that you're active when it comes to that, etc. So hobbies. One thing I did was reach out to people from. So I would try and find them or see who could be part of my ethnic group, and that would always be a great conversation starter and a way for us to connect. Because once you have a common goal, and it's in a way, that's already a good way to start off a relationship because they do want to help you. Ooh. It says my connection is unstable. Can you all still hear me? Hello? Okay, I think my connection stopped. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. Just making sure. So find that commonality. When you have a goal and someone else has a goal, you just naturally want to help each other because you have that same goal, which is awesome. So really find people with those similar goals. Are you interested in the same goals? Are you interested in feminism? You see she participates in a lot of women events. All these things. Try and find these like commonalities. And one thing I do suggest, if you're going for a recruiter or someone who works in a company that's always adding value and all, follow them first. And if they're creating content, really connect with their content, comment, showcase yourself as a giver and someone, oh, it's breaking off. I'm so sorry. The internet, I'm sorry, but we'll push through. So one thing is comment on their posts, add value to their discussions, showcase that you're interested in them as people, not their job and what they have to say, and then send them a personalized message. That's one way of like remotely establishing a relationship with someone. So really try and do that, and really try and spotlight yourself before you connect with them. Because a lot of the time, if you're engaging with them and helping them out, they're already going to connect with you anyways. So that's a really good strategy, in my opinion. Right. And just to talk about long-term networking a bit, again, it's all about giving, and maybe asking for something after being a giver consistently. And when you long-term network, you can always have people who can refer you, rather than being like, oh, I need to apply to Amazon. How do I do that? I don't know anyone. It becomes, oh, Amazon has an opening. I already know this person can refer me. So you just reach out to them again, and then it's much easier than short-term networking. So I always tell people, establish that network before you need it, and then you can really utilize it when you do need it. And this is good for emergency situations, such as the ones we are living in currently. So it's always good to establish, a friend of mine calls it a bench. So that's like your support system. That is your network. You're constantly growing it. You're constantly supporting it and leveraging on it when you really do need it, instead of just always needing to reach out to people in these emergencies and stuff. And I really encourage you to keep track of that network. If you're very forgetful, if you don't remember people, create like a document and write in when was the last time you contacted them and checked in. So once you look at that document, you know who you've not spoken to in a very long time and who you can reach out to and check in on. And that way you're kind of always establishing that relationship and always keeping track of everybody. And just to be more specific about how you can be a giver to your network, you're always looking for opportunities. You're always seeing resources. You're always reading. You're always watching things. We consume so much content as is, and we're always seeing a lot of, let's say, like opportunities, like events, speaking engagements, etc. When you see an opportunity that could be beneficial to someone else, reach out to them, let them know. If there is an event that's close by to them, let them know. When someone reaches out to me with opportunities, that makes me feel really happy, because that means they're there to support me and they're thinking of me. If you do a really good course, or if you read a really good book, share it with people in your industry who would also benefit from it. People are very receptive to you wanting to help them, or like sending them things. So really be sure to do that. Instead of just consuming things by yourself, spread it around. That really establishes you as someone who's thinking of others, and as you should be. So really think of that. And because we have like 10 minutes before question time, I wanted to talk about building content a bit. And building content is a great way to kind of create a long-term like network, because instead of you needing to reach out to people constantly to check up or to speak to them, they are already very aware of what you're doing or what you need or how's it going. So one thing I always did when I was job searching is, when I got stuck or when I was having an issue, I wrote about it. I told people this is what's going on. And that's a great way to keep people in the loop and keep letting people know that what's going on. And that way you don't have to reach out to a ton of people all the time telling them what's going on. People are just aware of what's happening. And the basic formula for LinkedIn is value and consistency. So the first thing is, with consistency, I see a lot of people who start posting on LinkedIn, which is incredible. And they'll post once a month, or they'll post very consistently for a while, and then they'll stop and you won't hear from them again. They'll just vanish. That is not a good way of establishing a long-term network. You need to keep your eye on the ball and keep rolling it around, and keep creating content. I know a lot of people say, I'm not getting much engagement, I'm not getting a lot of reach, all these things, which is a bit of a shame, because it takes a bit of time and it takes a lot of effort from your end to keep the ball rolling. So I really encourage you, keep the consistency, keep pushing through, keep creating content, and just keep at it. Consistency is really, really key. I've been creating content for the last 2 years, every single week. Um, and you need to establish that habit. So one thing I always do, especially at the beginning, is like I will post every Tuesday and Thursday for sure. I built that habit, and that way I was able to keep consistently with that, right? So really create habits, find your niche, find what you like to write about, and just keep doing it. And when it comes to value, there is a misconception on LinkedIn sometimes that you need to post announcements rather than post what is happening to you. And announcements are really good. It's good that you're accomplishing things and pushing through things, and that's awesome. But you need to put a value tone in everything. The platform is really built on providing value to other people, which is awesome. But you need to really write that value in. And remember when we were talking about don'ts and we said like don't ask questions or don't write in things that you can Google? I always think of that when I'm writing content. If I can Google it, I shouldn't write it. Because other people could just Google it then, or it's probably already very common knowledge. Tap into what you really know, what you're really learning, and like how you can add value to other people. At the beginning, I didn't know what my value was, but it was like a journey and a whole process of learning that. At the beginning, especially, I didn't know. I was just writing very basic things, to be honest. I was writing about LinkedIn. I was like, oh, LinkedIn is such a good resource. And it stuck with people because a lot of people didn't know that. And then I wrote about my own personal journey. I wrote about how I'm quite tiny and people don't think much of me. But then I always surprise people through that. And a lot of people resonated with that. And when I was in college, I was writing a lot about what issues I'm really passionate about and how people who are also passionate about that can make a difference and make that change. So really tap into who you are and what you want to add value to. So it could be your story. You can write about what you're learning, what certain soft skills that your job would need. So my goal was sales. So what I would portray would be resilience, communication skills, all these different things that would be beneficial to sales, because that's when a hiring manager, a recruiter, or someone who would think I have potential would see. So when I was writing about my job journey, it wasn't, oh, I hate my life. I want to, I really hate this process. I hate everything. No one's helping me. It was a growth perspective and mindset, which is what other people needed and what people saw in me. So really write positively, write value, and be vulnerable. I think that's very scary for a lot of people because LinkedIn is such a professional kind of platform. But sometimes I'm feeling lonely at home and I'm pushing myself too hard. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm scared of something I have to do professionally. I've posted about all these things. I think so many people saw that I was posting about rejection and then really liking that because it's not a topic that people speak about very often. There's so many taboos in the business world when it comes to things that happen in the workplace, networking, rejection, failure, things that we all go through, but we're not speaking about. Be the person who speaks about it. Be the person who's really pushing. And I see someone in the comments saying, what do you do when you have nothing to post, especially if you're experiencing an idea block? It's tough. Sometimes I don't force myself if nothing's really coming out properly, or I'm not really feeling it. Don't push yourself too much that the content's quality drops. You need to find that balance between quantity and quality. But what I really recommend is always find inspiration, read a lot of books, look into topics that you're interested in and want to share, etc. Really push yourself to create really valuable content And I think when you're growing constantly and you're also like learning and growing, it's going to show in your content, and that's what you kind of share with other people. You can also, I said you can portray like these soft skills. I really encourage you to also portray hard skills, like if you're working in tech, because I know so much about that. Showcase your projects, talk about what you learned and what you struggled with. There was a point at LinkedIn when a lot of people were posting like coding projects that they were working on. It was super cool. That's not really a thing anymore, but it is something really important. And I would really consider your audience. Who do you want to cater to? What are they struggling with? A lot of students will post very student-focused content, and I think it should be a balance, because if you are very, very student-focused, it could be hard for recruiters to take notice of you. It's great that you're very consistent already with content, but really consider your audience and who you want to reach out to through your voice. And like I said, post about your journey, story tell, things you've struggled with. And I think your personal brand is your talents, your learnings, and what you've struggled with in the past. It's like a combination of all of that. So really think about what you're good at. Are you better at videos? Like, are you better at expressing yourself in person? Do you like sharing pictures? Are you a good writer? You really should think of that while you're writing it. And think about, oh, do people find comfort in my voice? Do people need a push right now? What do people need? And play on that. And what's your story? What have you struggled with before? What have you been resilient through? What are some social issues or things that have impacted you that you're very passionate about? Because it's likely you'll find a community that really cares about that as well. And really focus on your story and what you stand for. My story is I'm an international student, and I struggled a lot with getting a job, and so on. So that's something I spoke about a lot, but I spoke about how I'm growing through the experience, which is a perspective a lot of people didn't have before. Right, so we're closing in, and I just wanted to use the last few minutes to just give a bit of tips. It is a tough time, and you need to be proactive. No one is going to open doors for you except you. No one knows you better than you do. And that's just because if you reach out to a recruiter and you tell them, oh, I like to do this, but I'm not sure what job I want to do. You know yourself best. Of course, people can help you, but you need to have that proactivity, and you need to reach out to people and make opportunities for yourself. A lot of people think that we, like, content creators get jobs like handed to them. It is a huge part of it is being proactive, reaching out to people yourself, following up, asking if you can do things. I spoke last year at Microsoft, and people think I was asked to speak. I was not. I went and asked if I could speak at Microsoft, and I was surprised that they said yes. The worst thing people can say is no. So take your shot. You could miss, and that's okay. You learn and you reroute yourself so you can kind of get closer the next time in a way. So I really encourage you, ask to speak, ask to work on that project. Be proactive. No one is going to open doors for you except you. You are the only one who can make it happen, and you are your own cheerleader. You are the only one who cares about you as much as you do. You need to push yourself and make things happen. No one is going to make it happen for you. I'm iterating this because I know this is a demotivating process. You need to go rise above it and really push through. Join a lot of events, all the online events that are happening. Join them, go learn, meet people, network with them. Really push yourself outside of all of this. And if you have the knowledge, share it. Spread the word. I think I got my job because I supported other people when they needed it. And that karma just kind of like helped me out as well. Thank you so much. I'm really happy we all had like such a fun discussion. A lot of people were talking in the comments, so I'm really happy. if you do need help with your personal brand, just feel free to reach out to me. I do have a request form for very affordable career consulting sessions in the description. So please feel free to join in and reach out to me through the form, and we'll get to talking. And if you don't already, please subscribe to this channel. I will be posting a lot more content here. And follow me on LinkedIn, follow like hashtag Percent Blast. You can find all my socials at the bottom here. And feel free to share what you learned in this webinar in a post. I would love to interact with it and to also share more tips in your post so we can get the discussion even going further. So feel free to share a post and tag me. This was so much fun. And let me see, I'm trying to go through the comments because it's lagging on my end here. So I'm sorry if I wasn't able to address something. Oh, I'm so glad all of you enjoyed it so much. Feel free to ask some questions here. We have 15 minutes so we can really dive into some of your concerns. Let me see. Question. I'm trying to find any questions. Some people are asking for some ways they have gotten through struggling with job interviews. I really encourage you to prepare as well as someone who is already working the job. So really go for like preparing as well as someone who's already in the company. Like look at everything, learn everything, really look into things and how you can like know as much as the company. How do I connect with an employer who are hiring? Someone's asking if I recommend taking courses. It depends. If you're working in sales or something like that, courses can only do so much because it's such a practice and really like you need to experience it instead of taking courses. So it really depends. If you think a course would be good for you and like excelling, then yes. So someone's asking how to create content when you're changing careers and have no experience in the role. Don't showcase then your experience. I would really like encourage you to showcase like maybe hard skills that you're learning if you're going into tech. Showcase what projects you're working on and learning. And if you don't have so much experience, try and showcase soft skills through your storytelling and things like that. As an international student, how do you filter jobs that need visa? I'm in the USA. I'm sorry, I can't really help with this because I'm in Europe. So a lot of the time it was quite obvious to me what needed visas and not, especially in Germany. So I'd really like encourage you to ask someone who would be more like informed about this. What are some tough questions you've had in interviews and how do you deal with those? I've had a lot of tough questions in interviews. I had one when I was looking for a grad job where the guy was just grilling me constantly for, I think, about 30 minutes. It is a tough situation, but I encourage you to go in with a very flexible mindset because it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the webinar. You're always going to be throwing things at you. You need to establish that flexibility, especially when you're speaking. So I really encourage you to practice with other people. I had people practice with me and just throw a lot of tough questions at me, and I see how quickly I can turn that into a positive statement or things like that. So practice is really key, and also preparation. I want to get into speaking and mentoring, but I don't really have experience. Where should I start? Really good question, and it's something one thing you can do when it comes to speaking, for example, is look for opportunities that don't need that much experience and start there. So look for unpaid opportunities. Look for student, if you're a student, look for student-held events where you don't need that much experience. Build yourself up. I really always tell people creating your career is a long-term process. It doesn't happen overnight. So you need to keep patient, and you need to look for opportunities that work for you at the beginning, if that makes sense. What advice do I have for the class of 2020? First off, I'm sorry you are all going through this. My advice is stay persistent, and I think if you have certain goals, stick to them, but change course if you think you need to change course. So if you do the same thing constantly and it is not working, you need to change something. So ask for feedback from other people. Really analyze situations and see where you could have done better. See, was it experience? Was it anything that you could change? Do I need to take courses? Do I need to network better? What was it that I'm doing wrong? Because once you know what is happening that you can change, you're already good. You can already start doing that. For job applications, do you recommend sending a cover letter when it is optional? Really good question. Usually when it is optional, I do not send a cover letter, but that is personally me. It depends also on the country, I think, and the job. Certain companies, if you research them, they will say that they really encourage cover letters. When I applied for Google and I got interviews, their cover letter was optional, so I didn't send one in. I really encourage you to analyze the situation. If it's a big company that's really high in demand, the likelihood of them reading it is quite low. So really think about that before you apply and all. When applying for a job and you have a connection that can refer you, what exactly do you ask for? An introduction via email or LinkedIn? I'm not sure exactly what to ask for. That's a really good question. You ask for a referral. So if you're in a really good position with this person and you're very comfortable with them, just reach out to them and ask them if they can refer you. That means that they send a recommendation to whatever company it is, and they send you a link or they put your email in the system. So when you apply, it shows that you've been referred to by someone internally, if that makes sense. So that's what you ask for. If you're not so in touch with this person, you're a bit concerned about asking for a favor, get to connect with them again, really establish that relationship all over again, get to know them, what they're going through. Establish that relationship, be a giver and whatnot, and then that should smooth that over. What do you think about asking this question at the end of an interview? Is there anything that may stop me from moving along in the hiring process? I've heard mixed responses on this one. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to get with that. Personally, I would not ask this because how is it going to help you, I guess? Do you know what I mean? I don't particularly see how this is going to help, but I would personally, at the end of interviews, ask for showcase that you know a lot about the company. Research the company, ask very challenging questions, make them think as well. Show that you don't do just basic questions, that you actually go above and beyond asking things and researching, because I think that's really important. Justice is asking, I'm currently applying for jobs in Europe, particularly in Ireland. That being said, should I align my CV to the European style, or is there nothing like that? There's not really anything like that, but in general, in Europe, if you compare it to the North America, we do put pictures, for example, in our resumes. But in general, there's not really a fit-all kind of resume, if that makes sense. Tushar is just sharing that he's into software development and he's posting content. That's great. You can send me the content, by the way. I would love to see it. Tinny asks, how do you answer tell me about yourself? This really depends on the job. I think it's very interesting that people don't know how to describe themselves, but it is a tricky thing to do and a very tricky process. But really try and understand what this job is looking for and demonstrate that you are exactly that. So that's how I would go about tell me about yourself. What are they looking for? Demonstrate that you are exactly that through experience, soft skills, all of that. There is a recruiter in the comments saying don't ask the interview question that we discussed 5 minutes ago as well, because it's a bit of a tough question to ask. Is there a length recommended for posts? How do you suggest getting more views on your posts when being new posting? Asked by Sunshine. Don't think about views. Think about views if it means you are reaching more people and they're finding more value in your content. If you're starting out, the likelihood of you getting a lot of views is already very low. So don't focus on that. Really listen to feedback and listen to your community. Are there specific content pieces that they like a lot? Are there specific things that they really enjoy hearing about from you? This is a process and you need to keep learning. There isn't a specific, this is how you get a lot of views on your posts. And in terms of post length, there isn't really there's already a limit on how long your post can be, and that's already quite short. So that answers that, I think. I'm trying to ask you. Sorry, Tushar, I didn't see at the end. Tushar, I didn't see any question in your post. It just says I am making posts related to this and that. So if you want to ask your question again, I'd love to read it. How do you ask for a referral indirectly? It's difficult to be comfortable with every single person. How to start off to ask for a referral without being greedy? See, I think it's that you're trying to do something in a non-greedy way when it is a bit tough when you don't know the person is already a problem. You're right, you can't be comfortable with every single person you talk to, but try and vibe with the people you can vibe with through like commonality and all, and that will help in asking for a referral. If you're uncomfortable and they're uncomfortable, the likelihood of them asking you for them accepting a referral or noticing that you're hinting at a referral, I think will be very low. So really work to establishing a relationship, not with everyone, but with people you're comfortable with and vibe with well. And they don't have to ask indirectly. You can just reach out to them and they'll help you. Would you suggest to make an open post on LinkedIn to let your network know that you're looking for a job? How would you advise to structure it? I was very in your face about that I'm looking for a job. I was always talking about it. I definitely recommend letting people know that you are looking for a job because it does help it keeps it in people's mind, so when there is an opportunity they remember you right away, which is great for you. So I would recommend you do let people know that you are looking for a job on LinkedIn. How do you structure it? Depends how you want to do it. If it's a story time and you're learning something, that's a great way to showcase that you're looking for a job. You can write directly. A lot of people do that. It depends on your style at the end of the day and what you want to do. I did want to share one post I saw yesterday from a really cool content creator called Andrew Echeverria. I think a lot of people on LinkedIn already know him, but he said, how would you feel if an old friend invites you to catch up over lunch, but then adds, I'm single now, by the way. And he says that it's super awkward for him right now because people are reaching out to him, just telling him, oh, I'm looking for a job, let's chat. Or he's also saying that 85% of people who reach out to me are looking for data science jobs, and he doesn't know anything about data science. And he works at Google, by the way, in engineering. So that's why I keep saying be empathetic and really make sure the person you're talking to is the right person to be reaching out to in general. So it says, someone said, how do you network with a professional as a student without making it seem like you are using them? The nice thing about being a student is you kind of had a get away with it kind of card. They already know that you're not trying to get something insane out of it, like out of a relationship with them. So when you're in college, I really encourage you to network as much as possible, because a lot of people will be more willing to help you out, actually. And like I said, find that commonality, whether it be like an ethnicity, hobby, any of these things. Be a giver, follow their content first, really like add discussions to their content, comment, send a personalized message. That already establishes you as someone who's genuinely interested in them and not just using them, as I said. Thank you for your question, Anisha. So unfortunately, it's been an hour, so that's the end of this webinar, but I had a great time. I hope I was very valuable to you and I helped push you forward in this whole process. As I said, please fill out a career session form in the description if you're interested in speaking with me or like having a session. I would love to work with you. And I'm looking really forward to a lot of posts from you on what things you learned. And just made this small thing. I hope I help you get hired. Thank you so much for your time. Yes, there will be a recording of this on YouTube. It's recorded and it will stay in this link. Lillian says she learned a lot. I'm super happy to hear that. I'm always here to support everybody. We're all in this together in this tough time, and this is what I love to do. I love helping people with their careers. That's like my favorite thing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for also supporting me, and I love you guys. This was definitely a blast. I'm glad to hear that. It was a percent blast. All right, everyone. Always feel free to reach out. Looking forward to your posts, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and stay safe, please. Stay safe, and I hope you and your families are always doing well in this time, right? Bye, everyone. Love you guys so much. Thank you. Love you all. Bye-bye.